Well, in 3, 2, 1, competition starts! well. Welcome, friends of Disney. So we're friends of Disney.
Okay, Janelle can't stop laughing. If you're wondering why we're holding our arms up, we decided that for those who aren't who aren't watching the YouTube video, we decided to do a challenge to see who can keep their arms up the longest. And we're doing it through this episode.
So does it help? I already got it, my eye itches.
This is in part to help our fidgeting, but also think it'd be really funny. But for today's episode, we're not going to talk about any specific type of media. We thought it'd just be nice to talk about everyone's favorite topic for Disney, and that is their live-action films that, for some reason, keep getting ordered.
Okay. Sorry, my eyes really itchy.
Janelle's crying for those of you who can't see.
I'm literally crying because I don't want to lose this challenge.
You can't clasp hands.
You have to just keep your hands up.
No, you can't clasp hands. That helps you.
Because
yes, because if I were to clasp my hands, I can relax my shoulders, and what's keeping them up is my hands pulling on each other. It's no longer affecting my shoulders and actually holding them up anymore.
It's my eye itchy.
You gotta hold them up.
Do I have to have my fingers straight, or can I have?
You can have fingers. You just can't hook your hands together.
All right.
Okay. Anyways, live action movies.
I'm just gonna cry throughout the whole episode because my eye itches. I'm so sorry.
Oh, in case you see cats in the background, Mr. Sean is cats, no, but sorry.
I'm trying to.
Okay. To the topic at hand, live action Disney movies.
Live action Disney.
What are your guys' at least general thoughts about the live action Disney movies?
Some of them are good.
I agree with that.
Yeah, some of them are good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, I really gotta take care of this.
Okay, we'll just stop. This is stupid.
I want to keep going.
Okay, you can keep going. She's still gonna be able to talk if we continue doing it.
I was I can't talk if I'm thinking about my eye itching.
We can't talk if we're too busy laughing and keeping our arms up.
Well, I'm laughing because my eye itches and I want to
Anyways, live action Disney movies.
Okay, some of them are good. I don't like the recent ones that have been coming out.
How recent?
The Little Mermaid.
Can you tell us more? What is your issue with the live action Little Mermaid?
Well, in quotation marks, woke Disney. That is a topic for another day, though.
That is another topic for another day. Just know,
You did great.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry, I had to hold this one laugh because all I thought was Dave's Diggs playing Tamatoa. But it was just David's Diggs' face, totally really badly photoshopped. Because I never played Sebastian in live action. Okay.
But anyways, no, we are not among that hate Disney for being quote unquote woke. We're all for the supportiveness. We're just making fun of the people that call it woke Disney. But continue.
Obviously, kind of my opinion, they are representing a lot of, going in a little bit, I have to go a little bit into woke Disney, but this kind of then wraps around the idea of the movie. Disney has been creating a lot more diverse movies, which is great, but the original movie of The Little Mermaid, obviously, as we know, she is white, and there's a lot more princesses coming out that are not white. We don't need to make every character of color and change them, and that's it.
Listen, you're bordering on us getting canceled.
I mean, it's great, but I wanted it to be more of what I saw in the VHS tape,
I don't think we can't really comment on it because we have yet to watch the live action Little Mermaid. The last live action.
I've heard the music. but I haven't sat down and watched it.
I think the last live action movie we watched
There's The Lion King.
would have been The Lion King, I think.
I was like, I very much support like everything that's going on. It's just like I just wanted, a live action version of what I saw as a kid.
I feel like that's reasonable. And I think it's also reasonable that these, because most of the stories I see, because as I'm a toddler teacher, is of little girls seeing themselves in Ariel for the first time. I feel like both avenues are equal and important and valid. And obviously, Disney can't make $8 million. Either of them making like a Little Mermaid for every
Diversity.
diversity under the right.
But honestly, at this rate, they might. And
I mean, power representation, but there's also the creative ideas of like, we could make 8 million versions of Little Mermaid, or we can tell a completely brand new story. Even if it's just like set up in the same universe. Where it's not like, where it's like Little Mermaid, 3 generations, like after Ariel married Eric. Just in thoughts, we don't have to retell the same stories over and over again, and remake them.
It feels weird talking about live because I think we can all agree at some point in our lives we thought, oh, this movie that Disney made would be so cool as a live action movie.
Atlantis
Atlantis would be cool.
Treasure Planet.
The underrated films. Yes. But at the same time, it's like, then you get to see it, it's like, oh. Like, Cinderella was good. I think Cinderella, I can safely say, was the best live-action Disney movie.
But the funny thing about Cinderella is there's like, you could theoretically have so many different live-action versions of... Yeah. Like, you could do like the knockoff spin series and call those a live-action, I don't. But
yeah. Well, there's like the Cinderella story.
Yeah.
But then there's Disney's Cinderella that they turned into a live-action movie.
Yeah, and then there's like, or is it Ever After, or like?
There's Ever After, which is also a Cinderella story, but I haven't yet seen that one at all.
There's also, let me look it up, because I have the VHS tape, and maybe I think this one may have.
With the Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Yes. Yeah, and then there's also the one with Camila de Bello, or is it Camila de Bello? If I mess up her name, I am so sorry. But honestly, her voice is so pretty. I loved that version.
But like, I think.
Oh my God! Not to Cabello, not de Bello. Wow.
Oh, the new Cinderella that recently came out.
Oh, this has been out for a few years.
It's fairly recent though.
I mean, yeah, it's fairly recent.
But
it was 2021.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
That one was great. She's such a
I didn't see that one. That was on Prime, right? I think that was on Prime Video.
Yeah,
Is that the one with Idina Menzel?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I have Prime, so we can watch it.
Okay.
But I think again, I can say Cinderella was the best one, and I think they got a little too. They saw the success of that and got too trigger happy.
Yeah. What came right after Cinderella?
I think that's when Maleficent came.
Oh yeah, I honestly liked the Maleficent ones though.
Sean does not like the Maleficent movies. I'm with Jonelle, where like I liked it, but Sean has a whole rant about it.
I will say it briefly, because I know this is going to come a lot when we actually do cover the Maleficent movies. I love Maleficent movies with Angelina Jolie up until it hits the timeline of Sleeping Beauty. Everything before the timeline is great, but once it hits the timeline of Sleeping Beauty, it is awful to me. I hate it.
I am not laughing at Sean, by the way.
I just had a look at who's playing Maleficent in that movie. Didn't realize it was Angelina Jolie, but hell, in that movie she gives me bi panic. Sorry.
I mean, same though.
Pretty girl is pretty girl.
The same though.
Sorry.
But But yeah, the last one that came out, and that like overall is mixed on whether or not it's considered good or bad. It is, I think, it's pretty mixed.
I think it's an interesting twist, like a different twist of the story, which is what I like about that, is that it's telling a story in a different way from the original movie.
I feel like when I hear Disney fans, like actual Disney fans, you can tell the difference.
The Disney adults.
When the Disney adults talk about it, it's like, why remake a movie like The Lion King and add really nothing new to it, right? Like that's just a cash grab. But like if you do a Maleficent where you change up the story, then that makes it have a reason to actually exist.
And that makes sense to me, and I think that's why one live action movie, which I honestly believe doesn't get talked about enough as an actually pretty good live action, is Beauty and the Beast. Because
I love that one.
I love the live action Beauty and the Beast, and over the grand scheme of things, it is relatively the same movie, but they still added things to it, like the stuff around Belle's mom. That's the biggest part.
I feel like
Okay, also every time I watch Beauty and the Beast, whether it's the animation or the live action, Beast looks better than the prince. Like,
That never changes.
That's I was like, is it just me? But I'm like, I would rather date the Beast than him as a prince.
I'm just gonna go out there and never liked the Beast, but there are other
I want the Beast.
there are other people in that casting where I was like, ooh.
I want the Beast.
I don't want the Beast. He's selfish. I know he changes by the end of the movie, but
He gave Bella a freaking library. I will take that library.
I will take the library. I will take Cogsworth.
We can easily talk about.
I don't like Cogsworth.
Also,
that
me
way.
and Beast could fight it out a little bit.
Okay, I can totally see you do like contemplate wrestling, and that's adorable.
I have an idea for another video. We'll talk about it another day after this is over. But
Megan and Darnell's ships.
no. But like, Beating the Beast stayed the same story. Added things to it. Added a new song specifically for Beast. Love that song. I love Evermore so much. They added stuff with Belle's mom. And more like the background of like her relationship with her dad.
They added historical context too, which was awesome.
And they really added more depth to Gaston's character too. So you don't have to change the whole story. You can add in the details that make it a more compelling story.
I feel like I haven't watched the animated version in a while, but I feel like the last time I watched it, I remember thinking, "Oh, this is a lot funnier than I remember."
Mm-hmm.
Like there was more humor. I feel like the realistic version. None of them are realistic. They're like talking cutlery.
That's the other issue I had with The Little Mermaid. The fish freaked me out.
Oh yeah.
That's like also like I think everyone's issue with that movie. It was just like
We were just going into that. We've talked about because we love the Little Mermaid.
the crab too. Sebastian, freaking weird.
But I love
Freaking
the
weird.
dicks and I love it.
If it was a crab read, like if you've seen the music video, yeah, heck yeah, I'd be all for those.
Yeah, I feel like no, I totally understand where you're going for with the Little Mermaid because there has to be like some level of. The great thing about the original movie is that all the fish were like personified in a very like human way, where like Flounder was just like the biggest like worrywart, and he was like so chubby you just wanted to squeeze him. And the like from the picture of seeing the live action Flounder, I'm like I would eat him.
He's like a Dory.
I don't know.
I want to eat Dory, but I'm just saying, like to me, he was like Dory.
It's just fish.
Yeah.
That has
It's
voices coming out of it. It doesn't feel as magic.
Yeah, and well, like me and Jonelle talked a lot long before the live action Little Mermaid came out, and like cause we've seen the animated Little Mermaid so many times. It was our go-to movie for our McChicken runs, and like overall, though,
He has more of a dating history than we do.
Please don't be.
I know.
please don't refer to us as dating.
Yeah, that's another thing. Now, like,
Anyways,
we never. Well, we hugged once, but we can never hug.
the one thing we were always like worried about though was the sea animals, because sea animals are freaky compared to land animals.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
they're terrifying, and I love that about them.
And you're putting them like they purposely made them all cartoony and fun looking in the anime, but they're having like a
Real fish.
like. Can you imagine watching Finding Nemo with a real life anglerfish?
I always think about Flotsam and Jetsam. Like, those, like, eels are not the prettiest to look at. And this is coming from someone who, like, was heart set on becoming a marine biologist until I realized I was really bad at math and science.
Sorry, look at what Flotsam and Jetsam look like.
But yeah, no.
Okay, I'm looking at.
Anglerfish are terrifying. The creature of the ocean, like, don't get me wrong, there are some beautiful ones, but there's some really strange animals, and I say that with all the love in my heart.
I just realized there was also the Mulan live action. I watched that one. I don't know if you two have watched it.
No, I have not.
That one was.
I just heard there's no music in it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, there's no music. It's very. The animated one brought in a lot of commentary, a lot of humor, like how you've mentioned in
Maybe the Beast one did.
yeah. And Mulan in live action was very more serious and to the point of Mulan and in the original movie of, the original Bull. And so it's very focused on that. The dragon, yeah, there's just not.
Yeah.
It was over.
It was a very serious movie.
So overall, looking at the live action movies, I can see where Disney has been really trying on making good live action films.
Oh, there's also the Aladdin one. I liked that one.
Well, so I think we need to talk about like what makes
Like
what would Disney have to do to make a good live action film? And I say this because Mulan, they steered away from how different the animated one was and went towards a very historically accurate kind of film, which is good sometimes. But if I recall, that movie flopped.
It flopped really hard, yeah. There was a lot of
And
anger around that movie, if I remember correctly at the time.
when they did Lion King, despite the controversy of live action versus CGI, that flopped even though it was a direct live action adaptation with some changes, especially around Nala's character and stuff. But that flopped not as well. Like, it didn't do as well.
What about
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland?
Hold on. I'm leading into a question.
Okay.
Then you have Little Mermaid, where they changed some stuff, like changed how the characters overall look by having more diverse casts and everything. And to my knowledge, that hasn't been doing well. But then you have movies like Cinderella, which did well, Alice in Wonderland, which mostly have done well, Aladdin did well. So what do you think is the problem with the live actions that have flopped, even though it seems like no matter what Disney does, their live actions are going to flop, but they still have good live actions.
I mean,
Do you think it's the wrong movie pickings?
Yes.
mm-hmm.
Well, I personally think the Little Mermaid should have not been. Sorry, the fish is also. I keep thinking about the fish.
I agree that the Little Mermaid should not have been remade, but it has nothing to do on the film itself. It has to do with the fact that the Little Mermaid, the animated one, holds up in a lot of ways. The animation is spectacular. The music is spectacular. There was no need to remake it. It's a phenomenal film. And that's why I don't think it needed to be remade. I will appreciate adding a diverse cast. I always will appreciate it. But I don't. Your way should not be by going through the movies that are continuing to still be a standard. Cinderella, no offense, no offense, Cinderella kind of died off. No one really talks about the original Cinderella as much anymore.
But Cinderella gets remade like every 2 or 3 years.
Exactly.
I actually have something I want to say about the Cinderella story. It's like, okay, so for those of us who are really nerdy about our fairy tales, and I mean really nerdy, there is actually an index about like all sorts of different types of mythology. I can't remember what it's called right now, but it literally sorts it, and there's one that's literally just the Cinderella story, and it's like, it's the easiest because it's like the most bare bones. Like you just need a woman figure, maybe, working progressive, that has a bad step family, who makes a wish to go to a ball or some big event, needs to not be recognized by the prince or whoever they are attracted to. It's like the most interesting thing because
Leave something behind, be found later.
it can be interpreted in so many different ways.
And here's the thing, like Sean was saying, lives up. We all have had that like scenario. Like there's ones that take place in high school. Like it's so easily malleable to any situation.
Disney created one of like Sneakerella, like
Yeah, recently, yeah.
yeah, I watched that one when that one first released. I gotta say, it was pretty interesting. I was into it.
But
Like the whole like movie factoring around shoes was like kind of cool.
But like, I think part of what this live action Cinderella did well was not just because the Cinderella story is a classic and gets redone every 2 years.
And it has Lily James.
It does have Lily James. But I think also because no one talks about the originals and Disney's original Cinderella as much anymore. Like Fairy Godmother gets brought up quite a bit, especially in Descendants and stuff like that. But again, the original Cinderella does not get talked about as much, and that revamped it and brought it back. Lion King, Little Mermaid, more or less Mulan. Mulan gained a lot of popularity recently.
But
And just the more recent ones did not need to be made.
I will say though, with the Mulan one, even though it wasn't musical at all, and like it was kind of boring in that standpoint of view, and the original had more of that commentary.
It had a lot more.
I was still very intrigued by it because I do love movies that have historical context, and I think that was the other issue that I had with The Little Mermaid was
I feel like they overcorrected. Like they could have done a remake of the original. Have maybe they could have still had like Mushu or the.
we're talking Mulan, not the Little Mermaid. Sorry to
or the music, or even Shang, still, because I know they cut all 3 of those parts out.
Thank God for Mushu. No one likes Mushu.
A lot of people like Mushu. You just hate Mushu.
I don't like Mushu. There's one line out that entire movie that I like. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your family, dishonor on your cow. That's the only good thing that thing matters. Everything else can go burn in a fire.
I feel like they kind of still remade the movie, add in more historical context, but still keeping all those parts that really made the fans love the animated movie.
I was like, it gave very like Raya type of
energy.
Yeah, just without the music.
I think it's really interesting that most of like the popular remakes don't have a lot of music in them.
By the way, I hope we watch Raya because like I absolutely love Raya.
We will watch Raya.
We will.
I was like, Disney has like been creating like more movies that like I love that. Like when Disney goes into making movies that are around historical time periods and really focused on that type of energy and like different cultures. Like I do love learning. And so when they actually incorporate history and culture and you can learn and just kind of see a different perspective that's not your own, that's great. I love that.
I agree with you. As someone who grew up in a very white city, in a very white town, with very white people, it's very white here.
Well, also it keeps you engaged because like people want to see things that they're not necessarily like related to.
Yeah,
because it's different and it's new. It's interesting.
It makes me a better person.
Yeah,
Able to sympathize more, and it makes me actually want to leave my small city.
Now, granted, there is movie magic, so like we will never truly understand like the whole perspective of something. But then that's on our own discretion
Yes.
to go do research outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
But that also doesn't mean that like people share experiences. It may not look the same culture to culture, but experiences are shared.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I got nothing else on
That was
Yes,
adorable, Nova.
That's our
But-
cat.
that. If you guys had to have your pick of any Disney movie that has already been made into a live action that you think would genuinely do well in a live action,
But let me open up Disney
What-
Plus and I will.
what movie do you think you would want to see?
Okay. I have to think about this. But you know what live action movie we had that we didn't need whatsoever? Lady and the Tramp.
I still haven't watched that one.
It's good.
It is good. And I think
They got rid of the Siamese cats, which I'm kind of glad for
it
because
is.
it's not as intense.
It's not as intense, that is true.
I meant the song.
Oh, I hate that song.
Okay. It's really bad. I got it stuck in my head all the time as a child and as an adult because I used to work at this department store. We would have movies going all the time. And when I got sick of Ratatouille, it happened a lot. I would play Lady and the Tramp, and that song would just get stuck in my head.
I would like to see this as a live action, but I know it's gonna fail.
What?
Frozen.
No!
I was like, Olaf is gonna freak everyone out because it's just gonna be like,
It's going to be a Jack Frost situation.
yeah, it's not gonna work.
I think, honestly, Atlantis would be cool. I'm like thinking through.
I was like, I'm looking
I-
through Disney Plus and I was like, oh, that'd be fun.
I personally would love to see the Sword in the Stone made into a live action. However, it would fail because movies or even TV shows about the Arthurian legend, or legends, I should say, are so done, like constantly done in a lot of different ways
Sorry.
that it would not do as well. Because even though the animated Sword in the Stone movie, believe it or not, is fairly accurate to the story in the version of King Arthur's story in Le Morte d'Arthur. Yes, I read it because I'm that much of an Arthurian nerd.
We have a whole book that's dedicated to those myths.
But it wouldn't work out well just between the storyline and what would have to be involved in compared to we have things like the actual British TV show Merlin. It wouldn't work well as a live action, even though that's what I would love to have as a live action. It wouldn't work.
You know which one might actually work as a really good live action?
Hmm.
Moana.
No,
I think it would work.
It's not that I'm not a new Moana movie.
Tafiti would be creepy though.
Yeah, you see, when I'm thinking about live action movies, I think of, like, we're taking something that's animated and we have to translate it into something that is more
Realistic, human looking, real world.
real worldly. And
But with the Pacific Islander culture, like,
it would be cool,
that would be cool. I would love to see that.
but
I'm also super glad that Moana was made because that movie was so good.
oh my gosh, love Moana.
I would love to see a live action movie around Polynesian culture, but I don't think Moana's the movie to do that.
Here's the thing. I love Moana. I think it's really weird that they were doing a live action and a sequel right now at the same time.
I agree with the sequel, kind of, but not of the live action.
The sequel, from the screenshots I've seen, look amazing. Like, physically look amazing. I have no idea what the story is or anything like that, because I'm trying not to spoil myself. But, like, it feels, like, don't get me wrong, love Moana. We're a huge lover of Moana here. It feels like a lot.
I'm just confused about how the tattoos on Maui would.
Did it get smaller?
Here's how my brain goes.
Does he like move his pegs? You know, like they get the rock, and then he just moves his peg. And
Oh, I was thinking of adding more tattoos in the second one, dude. Like, how it just gets smaller and smaller.
Here's the biggest reason why I don't think it would work. Yes, the tattoos would be weird, but then you also have the monsters. The Kakamura wouldn't look right. It'd be weird. The giant freaking crab Tamatoa would not look right. It would be weird. It'd be another Little Mermaid situation.
they could make the crab like the crabs off of Crab Rave, and then like he's like hidden under some treasure in the water.
Listen, I think it would actually work better because there's supposed to be scary monsters, unlike in like Little Mermaid, where
They're trying to make sea creatures look cute but real, and it doesn't work.
it doesn't work.
Here, they're just making those sea creatures the way they are.
Again,
Because water, if you go under the water, it is sometimes truly terrifying.
Mulan is still really popular though. It doesn't need the live action remake.
I mean,
It would be fun.
That's what we also thought about Lion King and The Little Mermaid.
okay.
Those are their recent fails.
It's the same idea though. They don't need it. There are some movies that have succeeded from them.
I think
No.
Moana could succeed, though.
I think Moana could succeed. I don't know if. How do I put this? Hold on.
Get a really dumb chicken on a boat.
Hey! I want Puma!
Cool. Like, we could get a Charlotte's Web type of pig. You
Yes!
know?
I don't want to die! I don't want to die!
Yeah, exactly. Just like, pigs are cute. You can get a little piglet.
But then you also think about, again, with the other side of it, is how scary would the storm that Moana and Pua experience be? How terrifying would Takabi? Live action.
But the
That's
ocean-
terrifying. The ocean, they'd also have to animate, which might not work too well.
But have you seen Disney Pixar's water? Have you
That-
seen
that-
Finding
That's
Nemo?
actual animated water. You're talking making realistic water move and behave like it does in Moana.
Okay, fair enough.
Not to mention the stingray scene with Grandma. Like I don't
coconuts.
like poking the holes, but I think it would have to be I think it would turn into a which movie was it? I think it would turn almost more like a Mulan situation, where they end up having to remove a handful of elements because it wouldn't really work well in the live action universe.
Yeah, that's the really tricky thing, is translating animated to realism is losing that magic. And Moana is such a beautiful mix between the two of them.
I personally like
Um,
the story of her. Maui's supposed to be her guide. Now, she guided the whole thing.
she guided Maui.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think, like, if they made Maui, like, this type of, like, entity, that, like, spiritually followed her as she guides herself, and then they made it a real, like, that would be cool.
What? I can't think of Moana anymore without talking about my toddlers at work. We're obsessed right now with Moana. We call it Ona at work because my kids cannot pronounce an M. So I'm Egan, and it's Ona. Ona, Ona. And so we listen to You're Welcome like 800 times a day. And how far I'll go, like 5. Listen, it used to be only. We're building on it. But like they know the entire song, front to back, including the rap section. And I'm just thinking about how hyped those children will be when they get to see it in person. And Lin-Manuel Miranda will be writing the music for the original
From Moana 2.
for Moana 2. So there's still at least gonna be music there. Guys, it's not gonna cut out like last time.
But like I'm with you on Treasure Planet and Atlantis being the two movies that should be done, especially Treasure Planet. If they were do it around the same way they did the prequel trilogy of Star Wars.
You see, I actually disagree. I think Atlantis will probably go better because I love Treasure Planet. I'm not this is not against Treasure Planet. This is against like animating and like CGI. Do you know how many anthropomorphized animals, creatures, that little blob thing that follows them around? That either is going to turn out really great or like Cats the musical.
How do you not remember how Star Wars managed? Like, there's a lot of anthropomorphized creatures, but they actually look like aliens. Jar Jar, for example, is just a really good example.
I mean, yes.
Another thing we need to think about is money.
There is money in, but
There is.
But the thing is,
There's not a lot of money though.
How much money do they make, like, spend on making the Little Mermaid?
way too much. Part of the things that's costing them a lot in their movies is they are overcorrecting a lot of things to where they'll shoot something, but then they have to start reshooting, and it drives up their budget to where they're spending a lot more on making films. So they could have $100 million of budget, but then they'll start refilming. Now that budget's turned into $300 million.
But let's also consider. Okay, sorry, I'm thinking about to this project I did my first class in grad school.
Mm-hmm.
Those live action movies that have failed were under the previous CEO before they put Bob Iger back.
So, JPEG?
Little Mermaid wasn't. The others, yes, were under JPEG mostly. The recent ones, yes. Because, no, Iger wasn't gone for that long.
Well, he was still on the board of. So, Bob Iger was on the board of directors.
But then stepped down.
Yeah.
But Iger left 2020. He was only gone for a couple of years. Not a lot there wasn't a lot of stuff for it at the time. Lion King still came out under Iger. So did Lady and the Tramp.
Lion King wasn't horrible though. Sorry, I'm looking at the financial
Mulan
statements.
came out, I think, in 2020 or in 2021, and that was JPEG. But because of filming and everything, that was part Iger, part JPEG.
I was like, also Disney stock has like not been the greatest.
No, it's dropped tremendously.
And the thing with when you compare it to Star Wars is they've had this long ongoing fan base. So there's people who continue to pay into that.
But
when we have these stories that are not like part of like actual trilogies or like
I say if they were to, I'm just saying that if they were to do Treasure Planet as a live action film, given the nature of how Treasure Planet is, it would be best done in a similar way to the effects of Star Wars. That would be the best way, especially the prequel trilogy, episodes 1, 2, and 3.
I'm going to be honest, I haven't really watched Star Wars enough to understand most of this.
that's okay.
I have started watching Star Wars as I've fallen off, and we're working on it.
I mean, at the moment, Disney is still positive. They're not doing.
What's their stock at right now?
Oh, I'm not looking at the stock. I'm like looking at the full financial disclosure information. So if you go to the Walt Disney Company.com, you can look at the stock price. You can look at every single information of their financial statements because they are an openly traded company. Take that as you will. It's a lot to read through.
Sorry, our cat Nova decided he was going to be an idiot.
Anyways, back to the live action movies. Atlantis would also be a good one just because, given Disney's recent trend on really trying to diversify their movie cast, it would be such a diverse cast. Especially if they follow the original animated movie, it would be so diverse on all levels of cast up. So, because even the original anime movie had a bunch of people with different ethnicities involved in it. So, Atlantis would do really well from a diversity perspective. And all the technology and the coolness about it too would be so much fun.
And there's an interest in it right now because of Dreamlight Valley, because a lot of the things that they're using
look like they're from Atlantis. Yeah.
So their entertainment, so that'd be like films and things like that, had a 3% increase from last year's budget. It's not. I'd have to go look into 2022's financial and figure out each. I'm not doing that though. But this year, there's currently a 3% increase on their entertainment, and then their operating, they are 32% worse. So they are spending a lot more money, and they're not getting.
But that comes from a big part of that is how they film their movies, because again, if you shoot a movie, but then you go back and reshoot a bunch of stuff for the movie, that drives up the cost into where you need a more successful release.
But their
to try
movies
and break
haven't
even.
been super successful though.
Exactly the point. Their movies they've used so much money because they've had to reshoot multiple sections of their movies constantly. So the price of their movies are going up, and so when their movies don't perform well, say like in the box office, they are not going to break even because they overspent on the movie. If you're able to plan out a movie well and shoot it where you're not having to reshoot, you're not going to drive that budget up.
But this also comes down to um, the actual directors and producers of them needing to decide what is going to be a successful film and putting some other crap away.
And but it's also.
And this comes down to their management. Like hardcore, when I did my project and I looked into all of these, like the ones that I looked into though were the prior year, not 2023, because 2023 wasn't released yet. What I had looked into was they were having big management issues, like significant management issues. The park is a mess. The movies are a mess. Money is going left and right, but there's not a lot of return coming in, which is why stocks were going down. And Bob Iger came back in and they're changing up their management. They let employees go because they're trying to save money. And like not all of their revenue obviously is going to be allocated towards whatever they want. Like they're going to put a budget to movies, and that movie budget like actually isn't the biggest budget as we think it would be. And so they're spending, and they keep making a lot of movies too. They're like reproducing a lot of movies, and they think live action is going to be these new hot ones. But thank God Wish came out. Okay. But
if you didn't see our episode on Wish, go check it out. It's a beautiful episode.
yes, thank God Wish came out. But they've been overcompensating with these live actions because they're so controversial too lately that people are going to check them out whether they're crap or not.
But
because people want to comment on the crap.
I also have to give, because I'm really invested in the entertainment industry since I was a music major, we have to give grace on the directors, because ever since the pandemic, the United States social political climate has been awful.
Yeah.
And
it's been so flip-flop.
And these people are tasked with creating movies to appease a market they don't know how to read.
This is where marketing and economists come in and they survey.
Yes, but you have two groups of people, and I know we're going to get into this when we talk about woke Disney. You can't see us on Spotify, but every time we say woke Disney, we use air quotes. But it comes down to it's going to go either way. And it's clear that the market is picky choosy, because this is not, let's talk about live action movies, but just as an example, one of Disney Channel's TV shows, Andy Mack. A lot of people loved that TV show, and then one or two of the characters ended up being represented to be a part of the LGBTQIA+ community, which is great. Now, people threw a fit at that. And I mean threw a fit. It was in headlines. High School Musical, the musical, the series, which is on its own is a really weird show. For a lot of reasons, look at the title alone. I love the show though. It has gay men, lesbian moms. Like it has a bunch of like people in the LGBT community packed into it, and I have yet to see a headline on it. And it has been open on that since episode 1 of the show, and I have not seen any piece of headline on it. So it's clear the market is picky choosy on what they want to deem offensive.
I mean, to be fair, I have not actually watched much. Like, I've seen a little bit of High School Musical, the musical, because, like, I quite frankly only cared about the first movie, and that was it. And, I mean, that series is just kind of like one of those things where it's just like, most of us just grew up with the movie, and we were okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to these timeless movies that have been passed down from generation to generation, and you completely change it all of a sudden, then it kind of hits people differently because it's like, my grandparents have seen it, my parents have seen it, my children have seen it. You know, we have like around maybe 5 generations that have seen, you know, Cinderella, The Little Mermaid,
Snow
White, yeah.
That live action has been constantly in the headlines. I think it finally got canceled.
I don't know. I haven't checked on it yet, but those movies that have been started as animations that became timeless, you know, those have been in for generations, and so that already has some prehistorical context in terms of like your communications with your family and things like that of the story. We got a sleepy Megan apparently. I just realized that.
We mean you were going off. Do you have anything to add, hon? We were kind of going off because the live action movies are such a hot topic. I just think Disney needs to reevaluate which movies they're picking, and because it shouldn't be their S tier. It really shouldn't be.
Unless they have a new story to tell along with it. Like, we want more Maleficents, less Lion Kings. Because I was like almost like 1-to-1.
Yeah, it was almost 1-to-1.
I'm sorry. Babby has been moving this entire podcast, and now I'm really tired. If you saw me giggle, it was because it tickles. Maybe tickles when they move. And so now I'm just really tired. Disney do better.
Facts.
But also, I kind of love what you do sometimes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be a Disney fan.
Otherwise, the podcast wouldn't exist.
We do love Disney, and it's just...
Sometimes it's a tough love.
It's a tough love.
Yeah, I went back to looking at the financial... No!
It's the business major. It's okay. It's just like how I go off and talk about toddlers and how they develop. Sean knows. Or it's just like how...
I look at numbers and I see twinkles in my eyes.
And then you have an episode like this where you have the creative and the business butting heads.
And then what about me?
I say the business and the creative because I'm a music major and she's...
Oh yeah, I was going to go more off on that, by the way. Okay, so...
No, we're almost at the end. We can talk about this off camera.
Can I please talk about marketing real quick?
We can have
One of my favorite things that my professor said in my marketing class was like Super Bowl commercials, and they have to make them timeless because of all the generations that watch football. They need to consider that with these movies.
I'm sorry, but how is... What was that? Hug Monkey Baby? Timeless.
There is like the commercial with like the Backstreet Boys or something, and I think it was for like a Doritos commercial.
Okay, I understand that.
It's commercials like that he was talking about that have like the Backstreet Boys, your Doritos. There's some like random car driving and it's going whoa.
Okay, that makes more sense because on Monkey Baby, timeless.
It's just
Bitch, please.
But like creating those timeless that you can connect with every generation. There's something that every generation is going to pull
The point is, well, especially with the Super Bowl commercials, that everyone knows Super Bowl commercials to be funny. Everyone expects certain things with these Super Bowl commercials.
I wouldn't say to be funny.
Most of them are everyone, but the thing is, everyone expects certain thing, has a certain level of expectations with the Super Bowl commercials.
They're going off again, y'all.
Like
that they're gonna be good. That is
they're going to be good, they still have to consider like
they have to consider the people who watch the Super Bowl, which is families. And that's we need to consider when we do timeless movies is that it's everyone knows the story. And
sorry.
that was just kind of my issue with the Little Mermaid at heart. It's just like we all grew up with that story.
And it threw me off when I was in Disneyland and I saw two different Ariels. They were distinctly different. Has nothing to do with the actors themselves. They're two different movies. They are two different Ariels. They are not the same Ariel to me.
I was like, the live action Little Mermaid wasn't the Little Mermaid that, like, you know, I grew up with. You know, it didn't have that magic. It didn't have that at heart, like, glitter, you know?
And Disney needs to understand you can't create the same magic by doing it in different media. Certain things work specifically because they're in a certain medium.
And the fish is just weird.
I mean, if you want to remake something, make it into a Disney ride. But you already did that with Little Mermaid.
Sorry. Okay, so before we just continue, me and Sean could go on a rant forever.
And apparently I could just fall asleep during the podcast and they wouldn't notice.
No, I was noticing. I started kicking your chair.
I thought that was Nova.
Oh, that was me. I was kicking your
So
chair.
Megan's just not going to notice and we're going to just completely, like, have a little...
So this podcast might need to change while I'm on Sean versus Jonelle. Who will win? It'll just be death battle. So
Just vote in, like, the weekly episode who won, Sean or Jonelle.
Let us know in the comments if you want a series of Sean versus Jonelle.
Great, that would be great because I won't have to sit there because I'll be on maternity leave.
But okay, I guess
Okay,
we'll
power move. Power move. Okay, so before I did this, I did this first, and then I was like power move, and then you're like, no, this is a power move, and then that's what led to this. So then,
We're all tired.
Anyways, bye everyone.
Bye.